Hey, what's up? This is episode 44. Rob McLean, Jason DeBillius. This episode of Sports Debates Tuesday starts right now. What's up, people? Episode 44, Sports Debate Tuesday. I am with my man, Rob. Keep it McLean. I am Jason DeBillius, and we've got to give the people what we want. What's good?
What's happening, brother?
Big ass sports weekend, didn't we? We ain't even gonna fit up. There ain't no room for MMA except for Anthony Smith. Locked up that nice triangle choke at the end and was like, dude, it's what I expected. Big up for Clark for taking that match though. And you know what? Mike Perry last week coming in 5 pounds overweight, and then videos of him eating cheeseburgers. That dude, something wrong in the head. But we ain't here to talk about that. This is episode 44, just like our 44th president, just like my 44th guest on my podcast, Dane Blanton. Think 44. Cult 45 misfired this year, and here we go. Got a lot of football to talk about. Got a lot of we got our NFL pick six. We got a new guest, and we battled the host. I don't think either one of us did that well, but first things first. Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, Robert McLean fought this weekend. 8 rounds to what they affectionately refer to and wrongfully refer to as a draw.
A draw.
Rob McLean, cut the mess. I'm going to get right to the point. Did they get that decision right?
Well, if you listen to the rules before, there was a lot of set out preconceived winning conditions to where even if any of them got cut, the fight would be stopped immediately. I thought, Mike looked way better. Not better, but, he looked a lot sharper. He looked a lot cleaner, especially, being a bit the elder. But yeah, I just thought it was a great fight. I think these are types of fights that can happen nowadays instead of, a 12-round super fight bout for really nothing. Why not do exhibitions where, everybody's still getting money? Like Mike was saying at the end, this is something that, gives him happiness and puts him in a better place at the end of the day. I think there's definitely a place for this. If there's a place for bare knuckle brawls, But yeah, who won the fight? I definitely think Mike won the fight, but I don't think that was the intention. Is a win-loss. I think the intention was a great fight, and I think that's what they brought. So, yeah.
Rob McLean, excuse me, I'm sorry. Rob, keep it McLean. Hell no, the judges didn't get that right. Is it a charity event? Yes. Is it to raise money for, I don't know, kids in Angola or for the next guest on Child Apprentice? Yes. Was it for a good cause? Yes, because someone else needed some money and they fought for it. But with that being said, Rob, I'm a former volleyball player. You are a current volleyball player. We have plenty of charity events, but there is a winner, okay? Basketball, plenty charity events, plenty all-star, movie stars against the pros and all that stuff, charity events, but there is a score and there is a winner. Only in something this silly. And by the way, I'm gonna get to the promoter who's awesome. This I didn't know. I wasn't Bob Arum, wasn't no Dana White there. Whoever this dude was, we got to get his name because whoever did this brought boxing back using 2 relative unknowns. Well, I mean, in the boxing game, and 2 guys who are way over the hill. So I wasn't a big fan of the participation trophy. If there's a winner, there's a winner. Ain't no problem. Anyone got a problem with that. Mike Tyson looked, as far as being 53 or 56 years old, there's a curve on like even the people who work out. There's a curve where like certain people don't look their age. Tyson that body-wise did not look his age. He looked terrific. His movement is terrific. His twitch, like the twitch muscles, they weren't 18 or 20-year-old Mike Tyson, but it did raise the question like, dude, maybe he should fight some young dude, and then you dismiss that thought like, no, come on, get out of here with that. But I really like that he came there to put on a show. right? If it's for charity, you want the boxers. They know it's a show, but they also know it's a fight because Roy Jones Jr. is competitive to the day he dies. Mike Tyson is competitive, I guess to the day he dies too. I got to say it the same way. Did the judges get it right? No, they did not. Did it matter for charity? I guess not. But at the end, even games that are fun, you want to have a winner, right? How many times your friends like, yo, Rob, come play fours with us? Don't worry, it's not competitive. It's just for fun. And at the time you're working out and you're to compete. How many times did they ask you to play on the premise that it's fun? And then when you said yes and went, how many times did it get personal? How many times did fun go out the window when the score is like 13-13, game 3, game to 15? So I love the event and I love the way it was put together, and God bless this promoter and God bless everybody that came through and kept their promises and delivered. But as to the question, did the judges get it right? Maybe it was an inappropriate way to start the show because the media answer is no.
Yeah, for me, I think it didn't matter, but at the end of the day, even a draw is a draw.
True.
I don't know exactly how they scored that fight. Again,
I got
with the parameters being different, I don't know if they scored, as a normal fight. So I'll
Cool.
take a draw in an exhibition.
Yeah, why the hell not, right? When you heard the result draw, for me, I had a Rocky Balboa versus Hulk Hogan replay in my mind in the movie Rocky 3 when they did it just for show and Hogan was being or Thunder Lips. Now, sorry, that was his name in the movie. Thunder Lips was just throwing him around. All right, here's the next topic. While we're still on the subject of boxing, and for the people listening, you got to appreciate the rarity of this because boxing was so dead to us. It seems like it's back, except now, Wilder had a good match and our undefeated cat we talked about a little bit. I really love that guy who's like 38-0 right now.
Bud Crawford.
Wow.
Bud.
Yo, another guy that's gonna breathe life back in the boxing, So the next question is there was a co-match or something else on the card. I won't call it a co-main event, what have you.
Please don't.
Boxing, I guess, enthusiast and YouTube sensation Jake Paul defeated 0-0, now 0-1, former NBA player and 5-time dunk champion, former New York Knick, Nate Robinson, by KO in the second round. Afterwards, he said, I want to fight Dylan Dennis. And I also want to fight Conor McGregor, which is pretty much an assault on that whole camp because for anyone who doesn't watch mixed martial arts or boxing, Conor McGregor and Dylan Dennis are in the same mixed martial arts camp. In fact, Dylan Dennis is Conor McGregor's jiu-jitsu coach and is currently fighting in the UFC. So my question to you, Rob, is Jake for real?
I
That's a loaded
don't
question.
think so.
That's a loaded
really
question,
don't.
but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I know it wouldn't really be anything to any of those fighters because, a guy like him, and I'm not even trying to call him out or anything, but, guys like that, there are real fighters, there are real MMA, people. So, to be an individual who's an enthusiast, like you were saying, is totally fine, pump up the sport, hype up the interest. But in terms of calling out fighters, he's going to get a rude awakening if that ever really happens. But again, that's MMA. That's not really boxing. And I just think he's trying to look for a big payday. The whole thing about YouTube being a YouTube sensation is that you monetize what you do. Your whole life is about monetization. And that's not really, that's very possible in boxing, and he's doing a good job. He's done a great job of, creating a boxing atmosphere in his life and training a lot and being active in the, in the gym and a boxing community. But, there's just levels to that, fighting Nate Robinson, who's never really boxed or really fought before. And you saw that the other night.
Led with his face.
Yeah, that's, he was just street fighting against somebody who's been training to box, for 3 years now. So no, I don't think he's serious, but I think he'd get a rude awakening if he ever uh, actually accepted that fight or got someone to accept that fight.
I think as of the question, is Jake for real? Um, the question's on so many levels, so I'd like to just talk about boxing first. No, no, he's not for real. I mean, he did. He had barely enough head movement to beat someone that's never fought in the ring. Someone that looked like they didn't train very much for the ring for offense and defense. And we're gonna get to Nate Robinson in a bit because we clearly he trained just no, he didn't train. Sorry. Um, I tried. He didn't train. And I'm not beating them up because some people are teasing him because he got starched. I'm not doing that. I don't tease people that get into the cage. But you can't say, you could say he got starched without laughing at him. I'm not this is not a joke. He got slept, and for a while he looked like he wasn't getting up, okay? So is Jake for real? No, because his head movement and his counters are not enough to knock out people who can take a shot, for people who are in this business, assuming his counters even land. Second of all, his head movement is so late on any boxer who's punching forward or using the cross instead of loopy hooks, would tag him before he can counter. So his counters. So many boxers are in and out before he can even counter. So that's second. Is he for real in the sense that this is what he wants to do? Yeah. He honestly wants to fight Conor McGregor. He for real wants to fight Dylan Dennis, though Dylan Dennis will not fight him in a ring. He's got to take off his gloves and put on some MMA gloves and take off his shoes and do it that way. And maybe Dylan Dennis might not let go. I do not like Dylan Dennis as a mixed martial arts fan. I think he's a douche, and I think, like you said, he's doing what he has to do to sell his brand. But at the same time, I gotta call someone that's acting like a douchebag. Sorry. Conor McGregor still wasn't a big fan of his work, but at the same time, man, I miss the guy. The UFC and MMA is so it's like Eminem. It feels so empty without me. But nah, he's for real as far as what he wants to do. But in a reality, I think he could probably beat Dylan Dennis on a boxing match if it was just gloves. Yeah, he ain't beating Conor in a boxing match. Conor found ways to hit Floyd. Floyd, one of the best defensive fighters, in the game, even though Floyd was leaning forward in his defense. But so Jake is for real, and I think he's good enough for one more fight to sell pay-per-views and have people follow him. But I'm telling you, Rob, as soon as he loses, as soon as he loses a lot of his brand. So do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Winning.
I
Winning
think
makes people. Sorry.
I don't think a lot of his brand is ever going to be based off of boxing. I just think that's the thing that he's doing now, and it generates a lot of interest in two different directions. So one from a solidified area like boxing, and one from something he does normally, which is YouTube. So it's just something to strengthen his base. He's had boxers like Ryan Garcia over. They've had he's had other people come to his house and help him out, and so it's just like a meshing of what he's doing. I think it's great for the sport. I think boxing really needs some sort of personalities, not just to be a boxing personalities, but promoting personalities. And I think that's really where maybe YouTube or social media type influencers can kind of monetize their base, where instead of doing it off of social media or for makeup or clothing, or you can go to these bigger businesses and get and be able to sell them advertising, ways to advertise their brand. So it's very interesting.
It is very much. Now, well, let's finish with Nate Robinson, who came in his boxing debut. Got knocked down twice before he got indefinitely starched in the second round. Even Snoop, who I thought had no business being a color commentator, surprised the hell out of me. He was entertaining, he was fun, and he was honest. And what he didn't know, he was asking fight aficionados, like, is he doing this wrong? Am I wrong? Tell me he shouldn't be leading, just or whatever. And he's not getting in, he's just getting tagged or whatever. All right, I have a problem with other MMA sports combatants, Rob, saying that if you never fought, you shouldn't talk about boxing and you shouldn't talk about this guy, tease this guy, and this and that. I have a problem with people saying that because I don't think you have to be a chef to know if a steak tastes funny. What are you, a chef? No, then shut up. You don't know anything about steak. No, 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 no. I myself don't tease people for getting whatever because I just don't think it's right. I won't tease anybody that got hurt in a non-combat sport. Someone's on a skateboard, right? And they're trying to do a stunt. They fall on a freaking sidewalk. They dislocate their arm. That's not funny. But for me, I do understand why people do it. And I want your thoughts on this. I think if someone talks a big game and says, oh, I'm going to represent this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this to that guy, I'm going to do that to that guy. I think if you say all these things and you don't do it, you have to be ready for the blowback. So I understand why some people do it. And that's the problem I have with combat sports competitors. You can't talk all this nonsense and then, talk about how everybody, else is this and I'm this. And then when you lose, you can't play the victim. They can't play him as the victim. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
So let me respond.
Please.
I think what I believe it is there's a very thin line. And again, we as people we don't talk about communication, how to communicate, and what we say can, affect a lot of different things. You say the same thing in a different tone to the same exact person, and it can mean two totally different things, right? So the same thing goes with the choice of words that people say. So I think there's a big distinction, although it's very small, at sometimes when people are saying things, they say, like, you're allowed to have your own opinion. That's totally fine. But if you're saying it like it's for truth, it as truth, that's where it becomes, troublesome, right? If somebody's talking about an MMA, I know for a fact I'm going to beat this person, this person, this person, like this, that. That's great. That's your opinion. That's might what happened.
Right.
And even if it doesn't happen, that's great. It matches up. Yep. But you can only tell, this is what I'm great at. There's a certain way to talk trash, and that's where there's a small distinction in saying things about, that are really truthful, like Leon Edwards talking about Kazma Chimaev. He's not really saying anything that is untruthful. Yeah. He's just laying it down that he's a little hyped right now. People come in hyped and they lose when they go against a big differential in talent. Right. He's not talking trash. He's not saying this is what I'm going to do this guy and he can't do this to me. He's just telling people this is the truth that I'm seeing from my perspective. So I just think there's a thin line in between talking trash or just talking about in truths that what is your truth or what is the truth. Right.
I agree with you. If you attack a boxing person with boxing, that's in bounds, right? You're not talking about somebody's mom or someone's family or someone's religion or this or that, which I think sometimes if you do that and you get starched, yeah, I'm gonna tease you because you can't play the victim. You had that coming. We're both volleyball guys, right? I get a lot of messages from people talking about, I was out of bounds or this or that. And for the most part, you rarely see me issue an apology unless I attacked a volleyball player not with volleyball. There was a month ago, there was someone I was like, that dude's drunk. He's obviously drunk. He look at him. He's fucking whatever, this and that. And that I apologize for because I thought that was out of bounds, and I thought, and if, I don't know. I don't know someone that well enough where they got thick skin, and me and him wasn't like that, We're like that now. We got to talk to each other because I wanted to get his number because I didn't want to just tweet an apology. I wanted to call him personally and say, hey, that's not me. You heard me, and that's not how I roll. But I don't know. Does Nate even want to do this? I think Nate. Look, he's an elite athlete, but do we believe that he trained for this fight?
No. And I don't think he'll come back in again because that being knocked out like that is pretty scary too. Yeah. And you could train as much as you want. And a lot of people train for a long time and then they get knocked out like that and they stop training. So to start training from that instinct is very interesting. But on top of that, you know,
But anybody,
Nate's
go to
been a
Duke
professional
Rufus,
already. You
man.
don't need to do more.
And he's got the money. Go to Duke
Yeah,
Rufus. Go to
yeah.
even
Go enjoy.
Duke Rufus is a great boxing coach. Go to Jackson Wink is predominantly MMA, but I'm telling you, all of those guys can strike, man. I mean, Cowboy Cerrone, a good 8-point striker. John Jones, knows how to use his reach and talk about good defensive fighters. It was one, we almost had a problem with him lately about that. But it's not like he ain't got the money, man. What are you doing? And this is an example of a boxing attack and not a personal attack. What are you doing, Nate? Get out there, and if you want fight number 2 or fight number 3, man, you got to change camps, man, because that was, I don't know, that was either he didn't have a lot of time to prepare, or he's just like, nah, this dude's a YouTube dude. I got this. I could, I beat YouTube guys on the street, so maybe there's a little bit of that, So
I don't know, man. I don't want to see it.
yeah, I know. Hey, let's close the door on boxing. Let's also close the door on combat sports. But before we go, big up to Anthony Smith, top 5 205er who takes fights anytime, anywhere. And this time, he had another short notice fight, a last minute replacement, and just took it and was prepared to fight 5 rounds. This guy Clark came in, made weight, was prepared to fight 5 rounds. Actually tagged him in the beginning. And Clark is actually the wrestler, so that was an ironic ending for me. Like, Anthony Smith, I thought would be the one tagging him. Instead, Anthony Smith got tagged. And this is the guy I thought would be on top looking for submissions. Instead, he got submitted. So,
Right.
But there are, Anthony Smith reminded everybody, there are, even for 205, which is not the strongest division in the UFC, there are still levels between the top 7, and everybody else. There's huge difference, Shogun, even Shogun, who got knocked out, is still kind of a gatekeeper for the top 7 or 8. So, right, OSP, these guys, that level and above, man, But so cool, man. Yeah, man, we can talk about that later because we got a whole bunch of stuff, including our week's pick 6. Okay, last week's pick 6. Let's take a look at the results. We got one game that was pushed back. That was the Ravens in Pittsburgh. So neither one of us are gonna get a L or a dub or an L on that. And here's our guy, Jeff Schitzel. All 3 of us are 2 and 3. It's a wash between the Republican Space Ranger and yours truly, Jason DeBillius and Rob McLean. That's pretty cool. So now we're going to take a look at the overall record. Rob, you went 5-1 last week, so you gained a little bit of traction. And me, here I go, making sure the rest of the pack isn't being followed in this 3-horse race. I'm your trail dog, guys. I'm your trail dog. That's why I keep doing all these dumbass picks, So, so take a look at who our guest is this week, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest for this week's pick 6 is none other than FIVB champ and AVP professional and NCAA champ from BYU, Casey Jennings. When he gave me his picks, he texted me, he said, too easy. And honestly, I think the games I put up might be too easy. Maybe I'm trying to catch up. All right, so here we go. We got, let's go game 1. We have the Saints visiting the Falcons. Rob, who you got?
Man. I mean, I'm going to have to go with the Saints, but, the Falcons, man, I don't know. They're definitely my dark horse team this year. I would not be surprised if Taysom Hill throws up a goose egg. But I'm going to go with the Saints.
You're going to go with the Saints?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Falcons. 1, because I got to catch up. 2, because Taysom Hill has done a good job not beating himself, running when he needs to. Doesn't make a lot of throws. But if the Falcons decide to make this a shootout, and I think they will, I think they have the weapons to actually put up 24 points against the Saints. And can the Saints put up 24 points against the Falcons defense? Yes, but I don't know. I have no reason to have the Falcons. They've always let me down, and here I go again, slipping further behind me. I'm going to go with the Falcons. And Casey Jennings is going with, let's do that. Let's move him over like a gentleman. He's going with the Saints. Casey Jennings is going with Saints. Now let's go game 2. This is Colts at the Texans. I'm going to go first on this one. The Colts never go away I mean, they played the Titans last week. They actually beat them the first time they played. Tried to make it close, but sometimes an onside kick goes the wrong way, literally the wrong way, the opposite way. Our guy Brown, man, just took it and ran away with it and ran away with that win. But I think the Colts are probably going to run away with this. They're they've been pretty stubborn against the run lately, if you don't count this absolute beast from the Titans. Tell me his name again, because I'm old. What's
Derrick
his name?
Henry.
Derrick Henry, man, guy from Alabama, man, with that big old ponytail. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Colts on this. Who you got, Rob?
Oh man, I should go with the Colts. But for whatever reason, I don't know. I just have a feeling that the Colts are gonna, toss one up this game. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Colts. I'm gonna be smart.
All right, cool. Our guy Casey Jennings is going with the Texans. Casey Jennings picks the teams at home and puts his trust in Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Game 3, we have the Washington football team. I almost said it. With a Washington football team visiting our undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. Who you got?
Oh man, that's I'll go Steelers. I'll be cautious here.
Steelers. Next. Actually, no, let's get Casey. Casey also said the Steelers. I guess, yeah. Listen. If something else happens, we'll all take that L, that hot L, serving up hot L's. All right, game 4, we have who's this? We have the Browns visiting the Titans. Bow wow wow diddy-o diddy-o. The dog pound is gonna take a pounding. I am going with the Titans, and the Browns are gonna remember the Titans on this one. I think Derrick Henry runs wild. I think Nick Chubb, if it's close, they'll let him run wild. But if they fall behind, they're gonna take Chubb out the game. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think it could be very evenly matched because they both have a good running game. Both, and their front 5 blocks really well. Tannehill against Mayfield, come on. I'm going with, and Mike Vrabel as the coach? Nah, going Titans.
But man, the Titans, for me, I always feel like the Titans should be like a 10-6 team, 11-4, 11-5 at the end of the year, and they always disappoint me. And it's games like these that I feel like they end up losing, where it's a team who also likes to run the ball, a team who also has a good receiving core, a team who also has a good defense. So I'm going to go with the Browns on this one. I just feel like this is a game that the Titans lose. So
the Browns
I'm
are
going to trust
8-3,
myself
man.
and go with the Browns on this.
The Browns are 8-3 right now, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, are the Ravens? The Ravens are 6-4 right now, dude. Picture. I never thought the Browns would be ahead of the Ravens. They're winning the right games, and I mean, look, they got worked by the Ravens the first time, and whoever the 3 losses, I don't really remember right now, but they're beating the teams they're supposed to, and maybe this is the game they're supposed to win. Let's go with Casey on this one. Mr. Jennings is going to go with the Titans on this. All right, game 5. You're going to go first on this one. We have the Rams visiting the Arizona Cardinals.
Disappointed me
Bobby McGee.
last week.
Who you got?
Disappointed me last week, but
Who did?
The Rams.
Okay.
Started out strong, but couldn't quite finish it. I understand that. But against the Cardinals, I mean, that's a tough one.
That's a division one.
I think I'm gonna go with the Cardinals on this one. I just think that after that loss to New England, I just feel like the wheels are gonna come back on, and they're gonna be one of the tough teams in the division again. So I'm gonna go with the Cardinals here.
How could a team like the Rams be so good and so dominant, and you're like, that's the team that's gonna go deep into the playoffs, and then only for a week later to be like, who are you? Who?
True. That's true.
Listen, they were who we thought they were, okay? A team that wins one week and loses one in 1 week. They lost last week, they're going to win this week. Their front 4 particularly, and their linebacking core, particularly Aaron Donald, they do really well, particularly against mobile quarterbacks. And they're going to dare the running game to beat. I mean, They're gonna go after Kyler Murray. They're very good at staying in their lanes. And I know that because when they played Buffalo, it's a game they probably should have won if not for the PI call on fourth down. And Josh Allen is a mobile quarterback. Kyler Murray is a different level of mobility, twitch, like that first step and twitch and movement. He's got Wes Welker moves and Daniel Jones
So,
speed.
you know what he reminds me of? Honestly, every time that I have felt like this is the week that a team is just going to crumble and crush Kyler Murray. Because look what happened to Joe Burrow. I mean, Arizona was that bad 2 years ago. I've been waiting for 2 years. Like, this is going to be the game that Kyler Murray crumbles and you finally see he's a human again. And those are the games he honestly plays. Either he plays really well or his team plays really well and wins the game for some reason. So that's why I'm got to go with Arizona here because this is just one of those games. It's clutch time, and he's just one of those players.
Yep. You got Arizona. I got the Rams. And Casey's co-signing with you. He's going with the Arizona Cardinals. Last but not least, we have Game 6. Out of our pick 6, we have the New England Patriots visiting the LA Chargers. I'm going to go first on this one. The LA Chargers leads the league by far in games decided by 10 points or less. They lead the league by far in games decided on the last drive of the last series. They lead by far probably in games decided by 4 points or less. This game is probably going to come down to 4 points or less, and I think that they've been snake bitten all season, and I think that snake continues to there's not a vacuum that's going to suck out all that poison until next season. I hope Coach Lynn stays with them because he's a really good coach. They've been fighting. They lost a lot of key players in the beginning of the season. So I hope they keep him, and I definitely hope they keep Justin Herbert. They found their quarterback. I'm telling you, this guy fights. This guy's accurate. And they need someone that sells tickets in LA right now, and that guy sells tickets. They put their trust in Herbert, but I cannot put my trust in the Chargers on this one. I'm going with the New England Patriots, the visiting New England Patriots.
Yeah, this one's tough.
How
Again,
big are your balls?
I really feel like that defense is, it kind of, I don't like the Patriots offense, I really thought that they did great last weekend again, with the whole Arizona, and they really stopped that hype train. But, I really feel like the Chargers are going to take this one. I don't know. I have a feeling in their house. I know. So I'm going to, go out on a limb, say the Chargers. I really like what they're doing on offense.
Ask Rob what he's won. Probably like another 5-1 record. Casey Jennings is going with me. He's going with the boys from New England. He's going with Bill and Belichick he trusts.
It's a long way to travel, man.
Casey Jennings, my man, miss you, love you to pieces, and I'm glad that you are one of my participants this week. Long overdue, man. Trying to get our AVP brethren. Get them out of their comfort zone, talk a little football, talk a little mixed martial arts. He also watches MMA too, but I probably not as avidly as we do, but like the bigger matches, John Jones fights or Conor fights, whatever, he watches it.
Right.
Jason Olive also watches a lot of 8-point strikers, like Jason Olive likes Israel Adesanya, like Jeff Samuels. A lot of these guys that watch Muay Thai that don't just watch MMA or actually in school for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think Jason right now is a purple belt. So I think he sees a Gracie every week. So, he doesn't do football though. Can't get J.O. on this pick, man. All right. So Rob, since we're still on the subject of football, before we go to our next category, who was the most disappointing team last weekend? You mentioned someone. Is that your team? That you said that was disappointing? I have.
Yeah, I mean, they just disappointed me.
Go ahead.
No, they just disappointed me. It wasn't necessarily like the most disappointing team.
Okay.
I would have to go with the Raiders. I mean, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but man, they just haven't been doing the right thing. They just haven't been doing what they've been doing in the beginning of the season. They started off really hot, and they, been kind of not doing the greatest. So that's probably my team of all time, of right now. But what about you? What was your team for the week?
Well, damn, Rob. I mean, this is like This is like the movie 8 Mile, Eminem, where you get up there and you tell the rap and you say everything that I'm supposed to say against you. So you took all of my material away once again. Another week in a row out of these 44 episodes, you've done it a total of 9 times, Rob. Because mine was the Raiders. I mean,
No.
not only did they lay a golden goose egg, not only did they only come up with 6 points, I started Carr for fantasy and the man came up with 0.60 fantasy points. My quarterback, thanks for nothing, Derek Carr. But my big disappointment was the Eagles. They need to make a decision about Carson Wentz. You're gonna draft Jalen Hurts in the first round. You get this when you draft someone in the first round, Rob McLean. That means you're looking for a quarterback. And that means before that season's over, if you didn't start him in the beginning, you have to see this guy play multiple games and know if he's your guy. And if he's not your guy, he's got to move on. You got to use him as trade bait or something. You can't put him in a play here and a play there, okay? He only threw one pass. He came in for one play and threw to Alshon Jeffrey, who, by the way, got his first reception of the season. All right, and what do? After they get some momentum and you hear the fans clapping, they put Wentz back in, and Wentz turned into Wentz, W-I-N-C-E. So big disappointment because they got a decent running game. They got good run blocking, not great. They have a really, really good defense that creates turnovers, but sooner or later they break when the offense just keeps turning over the ball. And Wentz, there's something off about Wentz right now. And to me, it is a division you can win, and I understand why you're going with him, the sure shot. Because right now, who's in first place, Rob? Come on.
The G-Man.
Big Blue is in sole possession of first place with 4 wins.
We don't need a
and
top
now Daniel
5
Jones
pick.
is out. Daniel Jones is out too, so that's gonna suck. Might be a very, very, very temporary thing.
Very.
So who's the
But
losing?
that might, that's helping our draft pick, which is what we need, which is fine with me.
So who's the losing team that's dangerous to play right now? Who's the team that has a losing record, that lost more games than they won? That's like, I don't think I want to play this team right now. They're still fighting and they're dangerous.
I mean, I think it's who we already talked about. The Falcons is definitely my dark horse team.
Yep.
I think they, they've just been like kind of what you've been saying with the Chargers. Same with the Chargers as well. Like they've just either just lost games. Especially in the beginning of the season. When you start off 0-3, 0-4, 1-4 for the Falcons. You're not going to have a winning record that season, or you're going to be 500 by the end. So no matter how good the football you play, you're just your record's not really going to depict what your season looks like. So for me, that was, the same thing with Miami. I think once Tua came in, even with Ryan Fitzpatrick, they were playing good football. So those really kind of my teams.
That's a complete team, though.
Even the Bears too. I thought at a higher echelon, they were really going to move into like a playoff position team, whether it was that Trubisky played better because Nick Foles was behind him, which I thought was really happening. And I think they probably should have stayed with that.
Should have stayed with Foles?
Foles, because I thought it was really propelling him to play better, having someone like that behind him. And, we didn't know it until now, but Nick Foles is not the same quarterback he was, 2-3 years ago. He's not necessarily a Super Bowl MVP or a player for this team to be that Super Bowl MVP. So I think it was very difficult. And now they're in a really tough position where you have 2 quarterbacks who aren't really playing up to their potential. So no one's really even driving each other to get better. And you have a great team behind that. You have a great receiving core, solid line, solid running back, really solid defense. So, the Bears definitely are at a crossroads.
Yeah. I like your pick on the Falcons. By the way, the team is 4-2 under Raheem Morris. And Raheem Morris is all about that defense. So I think, they have a little Belichick bend and don't break. That levels to this, so don't get me wrong on that one.
Yeah. Oh no. They don't have a talent for it yet,
but I like nobody mailed it in. Nobody's like you see some basketball games, you see some football games where they just stop playing. And then the coach and the coach got to fall on that sword, and the coach has got to go. But every now and then you got these interims, man. That people just they play for them, dude. They just play for them. So hope they consider Raheem Morris at the end of the season because he deserves another shot. the GM and all that stuff. So my team to look out for as far as the losing record is concerned, the Chargers, man. Even when you beat the Chargers, it feels like a loss because they beat you up and down the freaking field. They beat you on special teams. They create all these freaking turnovers, and then some of these games, like Buffalo Bills played them over the weekend. Buffalo felt lucky to come out of that and disappointed. Like, dude, this team probably should have won. We turned over the ball 3 times. They should have won. So you picked the Falcons on that, and I probably would have picked the Falcons, and you did that Eminem thing again. But so I'm gonna go with the Chargers. Next time I ain't gonna let you go first. You know what? You can go.
Yeah, I just laid them all out there.
Last but not least for the NFL, Chiefs beat the Bucs 27-24. I mean, we were talking about our boy Tyreek Hill, boy, just going off. I think he had
269.
I think he had like 200 yards at the half. Mahomes definitely had 300 plus yards at the half. So, who's responsible for the Bucs losing this game?
Whoever was guarding Tyreek, man.
Is it him? Is it Tyreek?
Whoever was guarding Tyreek, yeah. I mean, it's just hard because, I mean, at the end of the day, it was still a 3-point game. It was still a 1-possession game. It was still a very close, endeavor. So that Tampa Bay pushed them to have to score and have to, have that many yards. And I honestly, when I was telling you earlier, when I saw the stats of the game, I thought the score was very different.
Yeah, you thought it was cute. Yeah.
So, 27-24 is a lot better than, 50 or 45. So the stats definitely didn't match the score. So I thought that the defense played great, but, still lost the game. So I think it comes down to, Tampa Bay at the end of the day, getting their offense to score more than 24 points. So you've seen it in a lot of games, a lot of close games. They've lost with, the score of 24. And teams just have to score a certain amount to beat them. And a lot of teams like the Saints or, with Drew Brees or Patrick Mahomes can score much more than that. So I think it's honestly down to their offense. I think their defense have held teams, very, very good teams to under 28 points, which is kind of the threshold. If you can score over 28 points of your offense, you're going to win most games. So I think they, have to find out how to manicure one more score, because Mike Evans in the back of the end zone twice is great, but you got to be able to score once on the ground and possibly once with Goodwin or Gronk. So we'll see how they kind of implement other pieces into their offense to make maybe some of those red zone ships more efficient.
No doubt. Who's to blame for this loss? I guess Tyreek Hill. I mean, look, you're gonna go Tampa to a cover 2, a cover 3, right? You're gonna need over the top help against a deep threat like Tyreek Hill. They were really, really worried about Sammy Watkins coming back because Sammy Watkins was just getting all these third down conversions. But Sammy Watkins can be a deep threat, but there are levels to deep threats, right? You're not gonna double cover a slot guy and do a single coverage on Tyreek Hill, because if you do that, what's going to happen? The guy might take your lunch money. And well, lo and behold, look what happened. He got his lunch money taken. If you look at the stats, I mean, Patrick Mahomes had 300-plus yards before the half. He ended up with 462 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, with a passer rating of 135.4. That is ridiculous. 37 for 49 on pass attempts. And I'm like, when I didn't see the score either, I'm like, why is this guy still slinging? Why is he still slinging if he's up by a lot? The answer was, I'm like, wow, he's not up by a lot. And that's why he was still slinging.
Great defense.
Tyreek Hill, 269 yards off of 13 catches, averaging 20.7 yards a catch. His long was 75. We saw that strike where he did like a backflip in the end zone, 3 touchdowns. Brady, not too shabby himself. Brady had to, turn it to kind of a shootout in a Pashas game. And I think as good as Brady is, he's going to lose that shootout against Mahomes. And he did. Brady, 27 for 41. Not gaudy numbers, but not bad either. 345. He'd love to have the 2 picks back, particularly the ball that bounced off that guy's helmet and fell into someone's hands. So who's to blame for that? I give it to the coaching, but I give it to Tyreek, because Tyreek Hill, if you got the one-on-one coverage, you still have to catch the balls, right? if this is the advantage you got to take, at the end of the day, you still have to catch those balls. And some of them look like these golden throws, but I'm telling you, Tyreek Hill has a way of making some of these ducks in the air look like they were meant to be.
No, he slows down immediately. Like
It
as
looked
soon
like
as
a
the ball
punt
goes in the
return,
air,
dude.
he's tracking that ball. So you can see him. He slows down very quickly and then tries to speed up again towards the ball.
He's
So
so far ahead.
he does a great
Didn't some of them
job.
look like a
Yeah.
punt return? I thought
Yeah,
it looked like
exactly.
a fair catch, dude. All right, so that's all I got. We closing the door on NFL football. Let's go really quickly to NCAA football right now. Alabama. Let's see if I wish I could just put this up. The top four right now: Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Clemson. Trailing fifth is Texas A&M, 5-1. Florida 6-1. I think they're probably going to play Alabama for the SEC championship if they're in different divisions. Cincinnati's 8-0, and BYU from the Pac is 9-0. So, with the top four, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Clemson, is that how you see the Final Four finishing out?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if somebody loses, but I don't really see, with how few games, possibly with, a game not happening with, the coronavirus, like some sort of outbreak or something. But yeah, I mean, with all those things withheld, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Clemson is the only team that lost one in the Final Four and in the top four, but that was a game that Trevor Lawrence had COVID. And if like a decade ago, like the ACC was the weakest of the Power Five conference, where the Pac was up there, but now the Pac is the weakest of the Power Five conference. That includes the Big 12. And they get a pass because one, there are levels to this quarterback in this game, and they know they belong in the top four. So they'll win their ACC championship game. And the problem is if they're at four, I don't think the voters are going to sub them out for somebody else. Like Ohio State, Notre Dame, if they're at four, they're like, oh, this team finished at the end strong. Let's give them a shot. They're not going to do that to Clemson. So if Clemson stays at four, I think the guys inside the top four, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, are going to stay too. And I'm really a novice on how the SEC conference is set up, but if Florida and Alabama play each other for the SEC title, I think Florida has an in. I don't think Alabama gets to lose one and survive this year like they've been doing. I mean, they're certainly not going to push out Clemson or Ohio State. Ohio State has gotten pushed out before. So yeah, that's all I got for that. My man, we are rolling along. And since we're rolling along, let's take us to the category of shame or not to shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
All right. Oops, let's do that. We got our clock. Oh, we got our McLean. We got my Jason. We got our McLean. Rob, to shame or not to shame? The Broncos. Sorry. The Broncos starting Kendall Hill at starting quarterback last week. And Kendall Hill played quarterback at Wake Forest. It's been a while. He was on the practice squad as a wide receiver. And not only get signed or brought up, but he has to play quarterback. To shame or not to shame, Rob?
No shame, just because, in this time, there's a lot of things that happen. There's both the quarterbacks are out with a possible COVID exposure. They even tried to get two assistant coaches to sign so that they could use them as
that's
quarterbacks.
right.
So there's a lot to it, and I think this is the best they could come up with. He was 1 for 6, and the game could go on. But I think at a certain time, they've got to start thinking about maybe not even having the games, because that is this really competitive at a certain point? That's really my question.
Geez, the last time someone only got one completion or two completions with the Broncos, it was Tim Tebow in a game, by the way, that Tim Tebow won. But I say no shame here because they had 4 quarterbacks that were on a COVID watch list or whatever. Lindsey was taking some Wildcat snaps, but you play or you don't. They chose to play, and maybe it's the game that should be postponed. But honestly, it's weird that It's weird that, sorry, let's switch that. It's weird that the Ravens were able to postpone and the Broncos chose not to, and I don't know how the logistics in that thing works out. But for this, I like no shame, and I like that they gave the kid this guy a chance. Noah Fant, who's the tight end, was the guy that caught that one pass. He was on my fantasy team, so he got my little 2.6 points. So yeah, it's been. I mean, it was a funky game to watch, but I mean, Taysom Hill, is also one of those guys that it's not a big thrower of the game that finds a way to make it happen too. So that's the end of Senate to shame or not to shame. Very
Well,
short.
if only that guy was not 5'9", 5'9", and 186 pounds when wet. Tyson Hill's at least 6'1",
Yeah.
197.
Yeah, man, his
So.
star is really shining right now, and he's definitely going to be in our next category, I believe. Because we asked the question last week, and I'm going to ask it again this week now that we see a bigger sample size. The next segment called Quick Question. Quick Question. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Quick question, Rob. Quick question, Rob. Is Calvin Johnson a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes or no? The answer is yes. Megatron. They messed up so many first ballots with Terrell Owens and Moss or whatever because of the attitude of the writers. But Megatron is first ballot. Get this right. Was it a mistake? Quick question. Was it a mistake to start Trubisky over Foles?
Yes.
Gotta go
I
with
was
you.
talking about this before.
Yep. I say yes. Quick question, Rob. Wow. Sorry, I just saw some cool stat about Rodgers. He passed 50,000 yards.
50K.
So the 11th player to do that. So congratulations to A-Rod. Quick question, Rob. Who wins the NFC East?
The Eagles?
Cosign. Going with the Eagles.
I think that's the only team that really cares enough to win.
Cool. Quick question, Rob. Is Taysom Hill good enough for the Saints to win the division?
Yes.
Yes. I say yes. I think they're already 9-2. They got a pretty good head start. And they already beat some of the tougher teams twice already. Quick question. Which team's going to get a bye? Which one team from each conference is going to get a bye the first week? There's 7 teams that make it instead of 6 now. 3 wild cards. So for the NFC, who is it?
NFC Saints?
I go
The
Seattle.
NFC?
AFC?
Yeah.
Who host?
Chiefs.
Going with the Steelers. Quick question, Rob. Miami goes back to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Was that the right move?
Again, it depends on why. But yeah, why not? Because, yeah, it's a quick question. But yeah, I think so.
I think so too. I think next
Saw enough.
No, but next season you got a great big sample size of Tua, and next year they get to compete for the job, and Fitz showed that they can go to the playoffs with him. They're only one game behind the Buffalo
Right.
Bills,
Weren't they like 5-0? Or I mean, not 5-0 with him, but like they had a pretty solid record.
Yeah.
With him. I think they were on like a 2 or 3 game winning streak, and then they switched him out right during the bye week or something like that.
Yep. I think they're 2.
So it's very, very
2
interesting.
I think they're 2-1 or 2-2 with Tua, but their overall record I believe is 7-4, and that's good.
Right,
and for
right.
the end,
Yeah, it's a 4-0 with
Yeah.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then you switch him out the bye week. It's like
I mean, and with 3 wild card spots instead of 2, you're not looking up the ass of a dead dog. You feel like you actually got a shot to get that last one. The Bills are not thinking of anything else except their division and what else goes beyond that. So, and they do play the Bills again at the end of the year. So, at some point. All right, so that's the end of Quick Question. I got a list of big ups that I sent you before. Sarah Fuller, first woman in the Power 5 to play in the Power 5 conference. She played for Vanderbilt. I think they lost 41-0, but she actually kicked the kickoff for the second half. So big up to her.
nice.
Goalkeeper for Vanderbilt's SEC soccer team. Sent a low kick to the 35-yard line, squib kick. Yeah, I need to be careful because squib kicks mean return, and return means someone might want to blast her. So be careful. Oh, big up. University of Buffalo, Jarrett Peterson ran for 409 yards, 8 touchdowns.
Damn.
He ran for 267 for 5 touchdowns in the first half in a 70-41 win over Kent State. Now, that's not running up the score because you're trying to run the ball to milk the clock. And if the guy gets a hole, right, you're not going to not go through the hole. So,
yeah. 8 touchdowns. My goodness.
Yeah, geez. So you mentioned something. I think you did a nice little big up for what the Broncos did starting Hinton, and you also mentioned that they wanted to start someone on the coaching staff, Rob
2 assistant coaches,
Calabrese. Yeah, their offensive quality control coach, because he does reps with them in practice. So they were like, "Is there a way we can sign him?" And like, "No, league rules, no, because they'll be able to do it with everybody." So, and I'm like,
that's crazy.
yeah, but honestly, if you're looking for the best to play the best, I wouldn't have had a problem with that. How do you feel about that?
I just think it was back to what we were saying again about, or what I was saying again about, at a certain point, there has to be like a competitive integrity, because there's 43 other people on that field who, yeah, they're going to get paid by this game, but they all could also get injured in this game, and if it's for nothing, if, you're losing your quarterback and you can't field that position, I think it should be a forfeit at a certain point. And again, this is just this year, but just off of like integrity of competition, because, man, that's not going to be a fun game. How are you going to have, the other 22 players on the other side of the field, want to play defense and offense against each other when they really know it's for nothing, so.
I wouldn't even
I think
say
it's
forfeit.
a slippery slope.
But I wouldn't even say forfeit. I'd say postpone, because they left an extra week for the playoffs.
Right.
Like, there's this big gap between the AFC and NFC championship game and the Super Bowl where they have a worst case scenario. Just call off the Pro Bowl, and have an extra week for playoff teams to compete.
Exactly.
January.
So I think that it needs to happen, or maybe it has to be a little bit more stringent, because maybe it's on an amount of people. If they're able to field the whole team, I think the quarterback should be different. Or if you can't field a single position, then instead of filling it with other positions, especially skill positions, that, maybe you call it for a postpone.
Yeah. I mean, look, and in the same breath, what are they doing? How many times did they push back the Ravens in Pittsburgh? I mean, right? Come on. That was one of our pick 6, okay? So, Rob, before we go, is there something you want to say to me or us?
No, man, just be safe, be happy, be healthy,
Thank you. God bless you. Good night. That's all I got too, guys. This is episode 44 from my man Rob. Keep it McLean. Dude, this is Sports Debate Tuesday. I am Jason DeBillius, and we, my friends, are out of here.